let's try and answer a few basic questions. First, what is Donald Trump's foreign policy? Because it seems to be little more than repeating a single phrase.
America first. America first.
The only president who combines the sordid extramarital affairs of a young JFK with the dead-eyed puffiness of a post-Watergate Richard Nixon. Wow. You know, it says something about the Trump era that the phrase, "the same worms will eat him too," actually qualifies as a hopeful thought.
Trumpy Grumpy is truly having a dreadful time. First, Melania skipped the presidential debate, and then Trump outdid himself by lying to Americans over 70 times. But John Oliver put the final nail in the coffin by highlighting Trump's past foreign policy blunders and how he managed to mess up our great country. Take a look at this. And if you're a MAGA fan, I implore you to watch it carefully until the very end. And please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and let's spread our word to expose these frauds. And so hear this out.
That is focusing on his relationship with the world. Because while we were away, you may remember one particular remark he made.
According to the US president, Africa is a shithole.
It's sad to hear such rude comments. Africa is a big, beautiful continent with many cultures, history, and people who add a lot to the world. Using hurtful words shows a lack of respect and understanding. To those who support these comments, what kind of person insults whole nations? Is this the leader you admire? But John Oliver exposed Trump further.
He absolutely said that, except, to be fair to him, it's actually worse, because he reportedly called Africa, Haiti, and El Salvador shitholes, which is just not okay. And I personally have called Belgium a shithole multiple times, but in my defense, A, I'm not president, and B, Belgium is a loathsome chocolate gulag with no objective reason to exist.
If you're a normal person, humor is fine, and we aren't for racism, but if you hold public office, is this justified? To those who support Trump, does he know how to handle foreign policy? He made Jared Kushner his advisor, showing a lack of seriousness, yet MAGA still wants to vote for him. But you know what, we have people like John Oliver who exposes him with wit, and that's why Grumpy cries. Just see this.
But what you may not have seen is the response from the countries he insulted.
I am honestly so shocked. Countries like, has he ever?
Wow. You know, it says something about the Trump era that the phrase, "the same worms will eat him too," actually qualifies as a hopeful thought.
Oliver pointed out the irony of it all. No matter what you have, everyone ends up in the same place. It's quite telling that in the Trump era, "the same worms will eat into" makes sense. It really says a lot about the current political climate.
Crocheted on a pillow so I can wake up to it every morning.
Look, it's not like that's the only time Trump's remarks have caused an international uproar. He said Korea used to be part of China, angering South Koreans. He also claimed that Germany owes NATO vast sums of money. What kind of leader stirs up so much unnecessary controversy and confusion on the global stage? But can anyone tell me what Donald Trump's plan and foreign policy is? Let's hear it.
Again, America first.
America first. It will be America first from now on.
But see how John Oliver rips Trumpy apart.
Now, if you are another country watching that, you may well be wondering, wait, when has America's attitude ever not been America first?
If you're from another country watching this, you might wonder when America has ever not been America first. They've always put themselves first, with everyone else in second place. Yet here's Trump saying we've been getting a raw deal lately. He often complained on the campaign trail that America had become a global joke and promised to change that. "The world is laughing at us, folks," he said. Funny enough, with Trump's antics, they're laughing even harder now. Maybe instead of fixing it, he's just adding to the punchline. But see how John Oliver once again teaches Trumpy a lesson, and Trumpy is crying in the corner of
This guy thought he would end the laughter. It's like a flamingo in boxer shorts named Phineas J. Rocket Dump ran for president under the slogan, "Time to get serious."
For a minute, just think. Oliver is spot on. It's quite remarkable that Trump believed he could put an end to the world's amusement at America's expense. His declarations to stop us from being a global laughingstock seem almost comical themselves. It's like watching a clown insist they're not there to entertain. His presidency has certainly provided more material for jokes than anyone could have imagined, making his promise to end the laughter more ironic than effective.
All US presidents do get made fun of. Impersonating Trump has become an international cottage industry. Israel has Trump kicking a Muslim man while dancing lewdly to Guns N' Roses.
It's undeniable that Trump has become a global punchline, with people worldwide poking fun at his actions and statements. This raises serious questions about America's leadership. Watching debates where Trump lies openly makes you wonder how he can effectively handle foreign policy or sign economic agreements. It's a chaotic situation that leaves many scratching their heads about the state of affairs. Just see this.
Flipping off the world and again dancing like an idiot. it, and there's more. Here he is in Pakistan. Here he is in Bulgaria. Here he is in Taiwan. Somehow the world's most objectively laughable human has become a comedy graveyard where laughter goes to die.
It's baffling that Trump, who should be a comedy goldmine, has somehow turned into a comedy graveyard where laughter goes to die. Even John Oliver rightly points out how absurd it is that the world's most laughable human has managed this. The drastic drop in global approval of US leadership from nearly 50% to 30% is like replacing Gal Gadot and the Wonder Woman franchise with Matt Lauer, a bewildering decline. While some may brush off global opinion, the concept of soft power and international influence remains crucial, whether Trump's supporters acknowledge it or not. There was a time when people looked to America for leadership in solving problems. What Trump has turned us into is shocking. His divisive talk and sudden decisions like pulling out of international agreements such as the Paris Climate Accord and the Iran nuclear deal have disrupted long-standing diplomatic practices. This has strained relationships with old friends and made enemies more confident, changing how the world sees America from a trusted leader to a source of uncertainty and surprise.
Recent Gallup poll shows that the world's approval rating of US leadership has dropped to 30% after being at nearly 50% just 2 years ago.
John Oliver pointed out a critical issue, the importance of diplomacy and the State Department in maintaining global stability. He humorously noted that Trump's analogy of needing more ammunition could be interpreted as a bizarre justification for diplomacy's funding. After all, Trump isn't just Secretary of Defense, he's crafting accessories for the elegant weirdo on Etsy. However, despite the clear need for robust diplomacy, Trump's administration proposed a whopping 29% cut to the State Department and foreign aid. This move left many diplomatic posts vacant. From Belgium to South Korea, Oliver humorously highlighted the absurdity of not having ambassadors in crucial regions like Turkey and Saudi Arabia, suggesting that unlike in Liechtenstein, where you might get by with a sign, these are countries where diplomatic presence is crucial, perhaps not as easy as never stop Liechtenstein 2. The ambassadors Trump has appointed haven't always hit the mark either.
What is Donald Trump's foreign policy? Because it seems to be little more than repeating a single phrase.
America first. It will be America first from now on. America first.
America first. America first.
Now, if you are another country watching that, you may well be wondering, wait, when has America's attitude ever not been America first?
Oliver humorously recalled the Netherlands' reaction when Trump appointed Peter Hoekstra as ambassador, citing Hoekstra's controversial remarks about no-go zones. The Dutch reaction was far from welcoming, showcasing the consequences of such appointments. Beyond the comedic aspect, Oliver touched on a serious issue: the impact of these diplomatic vacancies and funding cuts on U.S. influence in international relations. Diplomacy, often referred to as soft power, plays a crucial role in shaping global perceptions and resolving conflicts without resorting to military action, something Trump's analogy about ammunition seemed to overlook in its Etsy-worthy irony. The State Department's role in global affairs cannot be overstated. It's not just about sending ambassadors to fancy receptions, it's about fostering relationships, negotiating treaties, and averting crises. As Oliver humorously put it, without ambassadors in countries like South Korea, Turkey, and Saudi Arabia, we might as well be putting up a sign that says vacant.
South Korea, Turkey, and Saudi Arabia, those are countries where you really need an ambassador. It's not like Liechtenstein, where you can basically scrape by with a sign that says, never stop Liechtensteining.
Turkey, Jordan, Egypt, Qatar, and Saudi Arabia, all without ambassadors.
Holy shit!
Inquire within in front of the embassies. Moreover, Trump's administration's proposed cuts reflect a broader shift away from diplomacy as a cornerstone of U.S. foreign policy. This move has drawn criticism not just for its potential impact on global stability, but also for signaling a retreat from America's traditional role as a leader in international cooperation and diplomacy. In the realm of international relations, perception matters. Trump's actions and statements have often led to confusion and concern among allies and adversaries alike. His approach to foreign policy, characterized by unpredictability and blunt rhetoric, has reshaped how the world views American leadership, from a steady hand to a source of uncertainty. As Oliver humorously pointed out, Trump's appointments and policies regarding the State Department and foreign relations resemble a comedy of errors, albeit one with serious consequences. The diplomatic vacancies and proposed budget cuts underscore a disconnect between the administration's rhetoric and the realities of maintaining effective global engagement. Ultimately, John Oliver's critique serves as a reminder of the importance of diplomacy and competent leadership in navigating complex international issues.
Jim Mad Dog Mattis supports the soft power work that's done by the State Department.
Frankly, they need to be as as fully funded as Congress believes appropriate.
Now that is scary, because buy more ammunition is his way of saying without diplomacy there will be more wars. Because he's not just Secretary of Defense, he also crafts accessories for the elegant weirdo.
It highlights the need for thoughtful and strategic engagement with the world rather than relying solely on military might or provocative rhetoric. One of Trump's early foreign policy blunders was his decision to withdraw from the Trans-Pacific Partnership, ITP, in January 2017. The TPP was a trade agreement involving 12 Pacific Rim countries aimed at boosting economic ties and setting high standards for labor and environmental protections. Trump argued that the TPP was detrimental to American workers and businesses, echoing his America First rhetoric. However, critics, including many economists and foreign policy experts, warned that withdrawing from the TPP would diminish U.S. influence in the Asia-Pacific region and allow China to expand its economic and political influence. Another significant move was Trump's decision to withdraw from the Paris Agreement on climate change in June 2017. The Paris Agreement, signed by nearly 200 countries, aimed to limit global temperature rise and mitigate the effects of climate change.
Trump has appointed, some of them are frankly not great. When Trump appointed Pete Hoekstra ambassador to the Netherlands, they were a little upset over there, as this interview shows.
That there are no-go zones in the Netherlands, and that cars and politicians are being set on fire in the Netherlands.
I didn't say that.
As long as he didn't say exactly what the reporter just claimed about no-go zones and politicians being set on fire, he's technically correct.
There are cars being burned, there are politicians that are being burned, and yes, there are no-go zones in the Netherlands.
Trump justified the withdrawal by claiming that the agreement disadvantaged the United States economically and undermined American sovereignty. This decision drew widespread condemnation from world leaders and environmental advocates, who viewed it as a setback for international efforts to combat climate change. Trump's handling of North Korea's nuclear ambitions also raised eyebrows and sparked concerns about potential conflict. His administration engaged in a series of high-profile summits with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, culminating in the historic meeting in Singapore in June 2018. While the summit initially raised hopes for denuclearization and improved relations, subsequent talks faltered, and North Korea continued to expand its nuclear capabilities. Critics argued that Trump's approach lacked a coherent strategy and failed to achieve meaningful concessions from North Korea. In addition to these policy decisions, Trump's rhetoric and treatment of traditional allies strained diplomatic relations. His criticisms of NATO allies for not meeting defense spending targets and his questioning of the alliance's relevance raised doubts about America's commitment to collective defense. Trump's imposition of tariffs on allies like Canada and the European Union further escalated trade tensions and strained transatlantic relations. The decision to recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel and relocate the U.S. Embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem in May 2018 also sparked controversy and backlash. While Trump framed the move as fulfilling a campaign promise and recognizing Israel's sovereignty over its capital, it was widely condemned by Palestinian leaders and many world governments. Critics argued that the decision undermined efforts to achieve a negotiated two-state solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and exacerbated tensions in the region. Trump's approach to Iran also drew criticism and contributed to heightened tensions in the Middle East. In May 2018, he unilaterally withdrew the United States from the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, commonly known as the Iran Nuclear Deal. The JCPOA, negotiated by the Obama administration and international partners, aimed to limit Iran's nuclear activities in exchange for sanctions relief. Trump argued that the deal did not go far enough in addressing Iran's ballistic missile program and regional activities. The withdrawal and subsequent reimposition of sanctions on Iran strained relations with European allies and raised concerns about the stability of the region. Furthermore, Trump's handling of the Syrian civil war and the fight against ISIS, Islamic State of Iraq, and Syria presented challenges and uncertainties. His decision to withdraw U.S. troops from northern Syria in October 2019, abandoning Kurdish allies who had been crucial in the fight against ISIS, drew bipartisan criticism and raised concerns about the resurgence of ISIS and the destabilization of the region. While Trump later reversed some aspects of the episode underscored the complexities of U.S. involvement in the Middle East under his administration. Throughout his presidency, Trump's approach to diplomacy often prioritized bilateral relationships and transactional negotiations over multilateral cooperation. cooperation and diplomatic norms.
He claimed that Germany owes NATO vast sums of money, which it does not. And in the UK, he retweeted these anti-Muslim videos from a far-right British group, which triggered massive condemnation. It is not like that's the only time that Trump's remarks have caused an international uproar. He said that Korea used to be part of China, which outraged South Koreans. And instead of fully apologising for it, he said, "It was a big story where you are, but it was not a big story where I am." And that is exactly his attitude.
His skepticism towards international institutions and agreements, coupled with his preference for personal diplomacy and direct engagement with world leaders, marked a departure from previous administrations' approaches to foreign policy. On the other hand, President Biden's foreign policy approach has marked a stark departure from his predecessor, Donald Trump. Since taking office in January 2021, Biden has emphasized diplomacy, multilateralism, and a return to traditional alliances. He swiftly rejoined the Paris Agreement on climate change, signaling a commitment to global cooperation and environmental stewardship. This decision, widely supported internationally, underscored Biden's determination to address climate change as a global priority. Biden has also reaffirmed America's commitment to NATO and collective defense, in contrast to Trump's criticism of NATO allies and skepticism towards the alliance's relevance. By prioritizing strategic alliances, Biden aims to strengthen America's position in countering global threats and promoting stability in regions like Europe and the Indo-Pacific. Moreover, Biden's administration has pursued diplomatic efforts to revive the Iran nuclear deal, a landmark agreement that Trump withdrew from in 2018. Biden's approach seeks to curb Iran's nuclear ambitions through negotiations and engagement with European partners, demonstrating a commitment to multilateral diplomacy and conflict resolution. In addressing global health challenges, such as the COVID-19 pandemic, Biden has prioritized international cooperation and leadership. The United States, under his leadership, has played a prominent role in global vaccination efforts, supporting initiatives like COVAX to ensure equitable access to vaccines worldwide. This approach contrasts sharply with Trump's unilateralism and skepticism towards international organizations during his presidency. Conversely, Donald Trump's domestic policies from 2016 to 2020 focused heavily on economic nationalism and deregulation. His administration enacted significant tax cuts for individuals and corporations in 2017, aiming to stimulate economic growth and job creation.
They've been putting America first since the day they arrived in America, very much second. In recent years, we've been getting the short end of the stick. On the campaign trail, he often complained that America had become a global punchline.
The whole world is laughing at us. They're laughing at this, at what's going on in our country.
We're not going to be a laughingstock anymore, huh? It is insane that Trump, this guy, thought he would end the laughter.
While supporters touted these tax cuts as beneficial for American businesses and workers, critics raised concerns about their impact on income inequality and long-term fiscal sustainability. Additionally, Trump pursued deregulatory initiatives across various sectors, arguing that reducing regulatory burdens would spur economic competitiveness and innovation. His administration rolled back environmental regulations, financial regulations, and consumer protections, which drew criticism from environmental advocates and consumer rights groups. Trump's healthcare policy centered on repealing and replacing the Affordable Care Act, ACA, commonly known as Obamacare. Despite multiple attempts and legislative efforts, including the repeal of the individual mandate penalty through the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017, Trump's administration did not succeed in fully dismantling the ACA. On immigration, Trump implemented stringent measures aimed at tightening border security and reducing illegal immigration. His administration's zero-tolerance policy, which resulted in the separation of migrant families at the U.S.-Mexico border, sparked widespread condemnation and legal challenges. The policy highlighted deep divisions over immigration policy and humanitarian concerns. Trump's trade policies reflected his America First agenda, characterized by tariffs and trade negotiations aimed at addressing what he viewed as unfair trade practices.
The only president who combines the sordid extramarital affairs of a young JFK with the dead-eyed puffiness of a post-Watergate Richard Nixon. In my defense, A, I'm not president, and B, Belgium is a loathsome chocolate gulag with no objective reason to exist.
His administration renegotiated trade agreements, including replacing NAFTA with the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement, USMCA. Supporters argued that these efforts aimed to protect American industries and jobs, while critics warned of potential economic repercussions and strained international relations. Looking forward, voters face critical decisions about the future direction of American leadership and policy. While every voter has the right to evaluate candidates candidates based on their policies and leadership qualities, it is essential to consider the consequences of supporting Donald Trump for another presidential term. Trump's presidency left a legacy of division, uncertainty, and controversy both domestically and internationally. As the United States navigates its role in a rapidly changing world, voters must carefully weigh the potential impacts of their choices on national unity, global stability, and America's standing in the international community. Comedians like John Oliver have played a significant role in critiquing and exposing Donald Trump's presidency, often using humor to highlight serious issues and inconsistencies in his policies. Oliver, known for his sharp wit and incisive commentary on HBO's Last Week Tonight, has devoted segments to dissecting Trump's actions and statements, providing a critical perspective that resonates with a wide audience. One of Oliver's recurring themes has been Trump's unconventional approach to diplomacy and international relations. Oliver humorously scrutinized Trump's interactions with world leaders, from his awkward handshakes to his unorthodox summit meetings. These segments not only entertained viewers, but also raised important questions about the implications of Trump's diplomatic style on America's global standing and relationships with key allies.
Since Trump became president, if anything, the world is laughing harder than ever before. Because while all US presidents do get made fun of, impersonating Trump has become an international cottage industry. Israel has Trump kicking a Muslim man while dancing lewdly to Guns N' Roses. Germany has him dancing to Uptown Funk. Here he is in Pakistan. Here he is in Bulgaria. Here he is in Taiwan. Here he is in Ethiopia. From an Italian comedy show singing Born in the USA on a stealth fighter before being taken out with a bucket on his head.
Furthermore, Oliver's critiques extended to Trump's domestic policies, particularly his healthcare and immigration policies. Oliver dissected the complexities of Trump's efforts to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act, ACA, highlighting the potential consequences for millions of Americans who rely on healthcare coverage. He also condemned Trump's immigration policies, including the controversial family separation policy at the U.S.-Mexico border, which Oliver described as inhumane and morally indefensible. Beyond policy critiques, Oliver used his platform to challenge Trump's rhetoric and misinformation. He debunked Trump's false claims and conspiracy theories, urging viewers to fact-check and hold political leaders accountable for their statements. Oliver's segment served as a counterpoint to the proliferation of misinformation in the media landscape, emphasizing the importance of truth and transparency in public discourse. In addition to his comedic prowess, Oliver's segments often delved into deeper issues of governance and democracy under Trump's administration. He highlighted threats to democratic norms such as attacks on the free press and efforts to undermine the independence of government institutions. Oliver's impassioned pleas for civic engagement and vigilance resonated with viewers concerned about the erosion of democratic principles in the face of authoritarian tendencies. Moreover, Oliver's commentary on Trump's foreign policy decisions underscored the global implications of U.S. leadership under his administration. He critiqued Trump's withdrawal from international agreements such as the Paris Agreement and the Iran nuclear deal, arguing that these actions undermined America's credibility and leadership on critical global issues. Oliver's analysis challenged viewers to consider the long-term consequences of isolationist policies and unilateral actions on America's role in the world. Through satire and humor, Oliver did more than entertain. He engaged viewers in discussions about the fundamental values and principles at stake during Trump's presidency. His segments prompted reflection on the impact of political decisions on everyday lives, urging viewers to stay informed and actively participate in democratic processes. As the United States looks ahead to future elections, including the possibility of Donald Trump running for president again in 2024, voters face critical decisions about the future direction of American leadership and policy. While comedians like John Oliver have provided valuable commentary and critique of Trump's presidency, the choice of leadership ultimately rests with the electorate. It is essential for voters to evaluate candidates based on their policies, leadership qualities, and commitment to upholding democratic values. The legacy of Trump's presidency, shaped by division, controversy, and challenges to democratic norms, serves as a reminder of the stakes involved in electoral decisions. Trump's tenure as president highlighted the importance of effective governance, respect for institutions, and transparency in leadership. His unconventional approach to diplomacy and international relations raised questions about America's role in global affairs and its relationships with allies and adversaries alike.